I'm glad to have you here, and we are going to begin with a welcome. And how do you not start a program without a welcome? And I am very pleased to present to many of you the Reverend Dr. Chris Conti, currently the Secretary at Gateway Medical Society, who will walk us through why it's so wonderful to have you here.
Good morning, everybody. We are excited that everyone has decided to join us in what we are looking forward to as an exciting afternoon, where we begin to proactively address many of the challenges that we all are either living or are in some way directly or indirectly impacted by behavioral health and gun violence. We are looking forward to an exciting symposium. There are no questions that are off limits. The way that we are going to solve these issues that are going to impact our community for generations start with the dialogue, followed by actionable decisions that we can begin to make. So again, I don't want to take time away from what we're here to do, which is to discuss and come up with solutions that are going to impact us not just today, but for generations. This is generational transformation that we're looking for in these conversations. We have a panel of experts that cross the spectrum of clinical and behavioral health expertise. We have partners that are here with us. As the Gateway Medical Society, we have been here in Pittsburgh fighting this fight, working and serving and leading and advocating since 1963. We plan to be here until these issues and challenges are spoken of in the past tense. And by that time, I'm sure there'll be other challenges that organizations like Gateway, as well as our collaborating partners throughout the city and the region, will have to address. So without further ado, I know that we have our Journey to Medicine scholars who you see in front of us. So I want to first acknowledge and celebrate them, because I can't speak for anyone else, but I know that they become fuel and motivation for me as they continue on their journey. We talk with our young people often about how the journey is often non-linear, but that it is always achievable. And so we stand with you, we stand behind you, we lift you when you need lifting, we comfort you when you need comfort, but we also provide that level of accountability when it is needed, all in the effort of getting them to where they aspire to want to be. We tell them all the time, if you strive to be excellent, then your opportunities will be created for you. And you don't have to worry about finding opportunity. Opportunity will find you because we are in a world filled with mediocre people and mediocre thinking. So we are trying to encourage excellence. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and we're looking forward to an exciting and insightful afternoon of conversation.
So today's program is entitled A Community Town Hall, Mental Health and Gun Violence, Solutions, Not Just Talk. We're going to cover all of that throughout the course of the next few hours, but I think it's important to note that we as adults might think we know the issues, might think we know what affects our young people, might think a lot of things. But it certainly would not be in our best interest if we didn't have the young people who are directly impacted by all of this share their thoughts. So you heard Dr. Conti mention these are participants in the Journey to Medicine program. We're going to listen to what's on their hearts, what's in their heads about some of the things that we see, that we cover on the evening news, but let's remember, it affects us much differently than it affects them. Leading this conversation is Morris Turner Jr., the program coordinator for the Journey to Medicine program, which encompasses students from grade 6 through 12. Please come forward.
Good morning, everyone. My name again is Morris Turner. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate the introduction. I have several students along with me to talk about this topic from a young man's perspective. One of the facts that we shared with our community is the fact that in 2021, more than 80% of gun deaths nationwide were young males aged 19 or younger. Black males were more likely to die from homicide, while white males were more likely to kill themselves with guns. And it's time to turn the trend around. I have students, as Lynn said, from the grades of 6th grade all the way up to medical school. Yes, medical school. We have been in this program of guiding young African American boys to men for well over 14 years now. So for time's sakes, I'm just going to introduce our panel of students, first names only for time's sakes, but I have Gavin, just throw your hand up real quick. I have Gavin, I have Brandon, Jarrell, Lawrence, Josiah, Dayron, my son Morris, Odell, Sean, Jordan, and my brother Derek. Okay, we're gonna run the house. So to start this conversation, and anyone can chime in, how does it feel to you when you're turning on the news almost daily and to hear about gun violence in neighborhoods in which we live?
I mean, it's really like upsetting, you know, because at the same time it's like it's our people being affected by it and causing it as well. So it's really like it puts us in like a sticky situation because we can't really blame it on the white people because it's our fault. It puts us in a bad. It makes us look bad. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your input. I know personally, I almost hate watching the news now because every time you turn it on, there is a death, there is a shooting, and they are in neighborhoods, as Lauren said, that we know. It's in Homewood, it's the Hill District, it's Wilkinsburg. It is all of these places where we are populating these particular areas, and you just hate to hear what's going on in communities. A lot of our students, we have several students that are in Pittsburgh Public Schools, and we have other students that are in charter and private schools. Anyone can chime in on this particular question. What is happening in your schools when it comes to the increased security in your schools?
So, I currently attend Winchester Thurston, which is over by Shady Side, and they currently added a new building this year over in the corner of Morewood and Center. And from what I've heard, we've kind of been cooperating with Pitt and like the city to increase security from the walk over from like the Opry School building over to this Davis Center. And that you've recently hired a new security guard, which kind of helps with the security of the sidewalk because it allows a guard to stay there to make sure that are able to get to the building safely without having fear of getting into trouble.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. How does it feel to have to walk through metal detectors going into school?
So, sorry. Did you want to chime in first? Okay. I graduated high school in 2016, so I'm no longer in high school, no longer walking through metal detectors to go through. But unfortunately, I do still have that memory from going to Alderdice, and it was always interesting because I wanted the freedom of just being able to walk in and not have to take the extra 2 to 3 minutes stuck in traffic behind people, walking through metal detectors, getting searched down. But with all the gun violence and the lack of gun control that we have in the area, unfortunately, that's something that I guess they feel is very needed. So it's a strange discrepancy to me, just because we want the freedom to be able to walk in and, I hold myself accountable, but unfortunately, I can't speak on behalf of everybody else. And the fact that we have to walk through metal detectors, I think that gets us more used to, the pipeline to prison system and a lot of other things that are going on. It gets us used to metal detectors, used to seeing guards, used to that security. So personally, I never enjoyed that. And I do think it's a shame that we have to have that. And I think that's a direct relation to the gun control. And that's why there need to be solutions, and the exact reason we're having this symposium right now. So that's just my take on that.
So many young people have to go through a lot of mental health or go see a lot of mental health professionals. How many of you all, or if anyone wants to share it, have been directly affected by gun violence?
So I've been affected by gun violence before when I had a father. My parents would usually argue a lot and sometimes take it too far. Sometimes my dad would leave the house and he would come back with a gun. Every time he came back, we had to call the police due to his gun. We had to leave the house for a bit while the police handled the situation. Me and my mom, we felt really unsafe during that situation.
Okay. I know recently there have been kind of a rash of young people to get caught up in some gun violence. Being a graduate of Central Catholic, my son and my brother are also graduates of Central Catholic. My son is sitting here as well. Can you, not to pick you out of the fold, can you talk about some of the things that you have gone through psychologically with 3 students from Central Catholic that have been involved in gun violence over the past 4 or 5 years?
Okay, so to start, my senior year of high school, I had lost a teammate on my track team who died to gun violence on a hayride during Fright Night. Another person, we called him Juice. He went to Cal U, and he had died to gun violence also. And another was Jafar Brooks. I don't know if any of you know him or not, but he also had died to gun violence in an accident.
So how does it make you feel having to know personally 3 or 4 students to get caught up in this gun violence? How does it make you feel personally?
It feels like I lost people like my teammates. It feels like I lost a brother, someone that I've gone, it feels like I've gone to war with him, and that loss is it hurts.
Gavin, I recently heard that you had a close family member to get caught up in gun violence. Do you care to share that particular story?
He died because he was trying to find his way home, and some dude tried to rob him, and he wasn't trying to give his stuff up, so he shot him. And it makes me feel terrible about thinking that.
I understand. Do you carry these feelings or emotions with you on a daily basis?
Yeah, it just stuff like that makes me think that I have to keep my head on the swivel. I have to worry about all my surroundings.
When you go to various parties or gatherings, do you approach them differently, or do you find yourself not going to parties or large gatherings of high school students? How does that affect you mentally? Does it make you not want to go, or you don't go to all of them, or you don't stay the whole time, or what psychologically are you thinking about when you go to these gatherings?
I don't normally go because I think something bad normally will happen because in high school you don't know what's going to happen, and most of these people are involved in a lot of gun violence and stuff. So it affects me. I don't really want to go to stuff like that because I think it's either something bad's going to happen or somebody's going to end up dead.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. This question may be for the older students that have gone through. Have you all been part of or know of any stories or people that you've been associated with to have gone through this youth violence?
There's actually several, too many to name, honestly. My name's Odell Minifield. I grew up in Hazelwood, born and raised. And, living in Hazelwood, it wasn't always what it is today in terms of the gentrification and how violence has kind of went down. The decrease in Hazelwood used to be a very hot part of town for gun violence and things of that nature. For me, just one experience in general, or directly across the street from me was a family friend of ours, and there were, in the back alleyway of my home, you can kind of see in between the homes, my home and my neighbor's home, and across the street lived a family friend, like I said before. There was a car that had pulled up in the alleyway behind my house while friends of mine, we all were in the front yard, having fun, playing, doing things that kids do. I was about 10 at the time. This car pulled up and we didn't notice it. And shots were being fired in between my home and my neighbor's home to fire at the home across the street of the family friends. And at that time, I was closest to that in-between space of the home next to mine and my home. There's a gate. That was where I was kind of leaning on. At that time, when the shots were being fired, I didn't realize it, at the time. But as my friends and I dispersed back into the house, I looked at my shirt and saw that there was actually a bullet hole in my shirt. And that was at the age of 10. So that was an experience that I'll probably never forget, and something that I was directly affected with gun violence. And then just growing up, I lost several friends due to gun violence. I went to Older High School. We ended up not having a bus anymore because of gun violence. And, just a lot of friends, teammates, people that I've seen that had potential to be great athletes, scholars, really directly contribute to the Black community in a greater way than what we are, the notion that is given to us as Black people. They lost their lives early. People that I know that could have gone to the NFL went to medical school similar to what I have been able to achieve, all lost to gun violence. So their memories are still with me, obviously, but it's just too many experiences to name to, I guess, make the answer short, but really not short.
So the general purpose of asking the questions that I've asked is to demonstrate that here we are, a group of, how many are we right now? We have a group of 10 people on the stage, and every single one of them have been affected in some way by gun violence in their young, youthful lives. I don't shy away from the fact that I'm 52, excuse me. But, these students are 22 years and younger. So the last couple of minutes of our program, I would like to hear you all's opinions on what can we do to turn the tide? What would be some of the solutions to get young people to realize that, life is a precious thing, all right? And when we take a life, we affect everyone. We don't just affect, you've taken away a son, you've taken away a grandson. You have taken away a nephew. You have taken away friends. You have taken away brothers. What can we do as a community to turn the tide of this youth violence?
I think that we can basically try to make it so as kids, I think they make it on TV. They make it so guns seem cool and it's a funny thing. And if you kill something or kill somebody that in cartoons maybe when they shoot at somebody, they'll come back, or it's just a little game. But I think we should make it so it's real and people just teach kids that it's not all jokes and stuff, and that it can actually affect people and it can affect them. So that's just what I think though.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Would anyone else like to chime in on that? Because I think that's probably the biggest question of the night. What can we do, right, to showcase or to resolve and find a solution to these problems?
Like Josiah said, I think kids should stay away from learning about guns or gun games. So if you have a kid, teach them about how bad guns are and they could really hurt somebody.
Gerald, I know that you personally have a story about an issue about access to guns, because I know that that is a whole nother topic, and that is how kids are getting access to the particular guns. Gerald, can you share that particular story with us?
One day, back when I was younger, I was in the back seat of my grandma's car, and I looked in the pocket behind the seat, and I seen a gun. So I stopped messing with it. I didn't want to hurt anybody. And then also at my uncle's house, I went into his room, looked on the ground, and it was just a gun under the little nightstand.
So, such that you accidentally got access to these particular guns, and it stays with you. So when you go to school and you see someone bullying, either you're being bullied or your friends are being bullied, does that make you think, oh, I need to go home and get my uncle's gun?
Nah, if I were to get bullied, I usually just brush it off and make them leave me alone or not talk to them no more.
But being that the access is there, do you think that that is part of the problem that we have, is why kids are getting access to guns in the first place?
Yes.
So maybe responsible, or maybe gun owner responsibility in terms of locking up our firearms and keeping them away from kids to accidentally come across it just like you. And I'm very thankful that you are in an environment and actually know better, because I believe that's part of the issue where our kids don't know better, not to touch these particular guns. And I'm going to assume that many kids share your same story where they've come across adults' firearms. And those firearms are free and readily available because it's not like these kids are running home or they're running to their friends and saying, hey, I found my uncle's gun. When something happens out on the street, they're saying, hey, you think you can go grab it? So there's that peer pressure piece where, okay, I have a gun. I'm going to go get it and I'm going to go use it. Does anyone else have a comment on resolution of the problem? Jordan.
Yes, so I was gonna say, when we're looking for solutions to anything, we have to think about what the problem is first. And I don't think that the psychological standpoint from understanding the way that seeing friends and seeing peers and people in your age group, lose their lives or get seriously injured from guns is noted. So I think it's about making sure that people understand that when we're exposed to this, while we're seeing this, when this stuff is happening, it affects people throughout their lifetime. Similar to what Gavin said, there's a psychological, you think about how you want to go to parties from now on. You think about the way that you're going to watch your back when you're in public. So I think it's the psychological standpoint that people need to focus on a lot as well. I don't per se have a clear solution, but I know where it's rooted, and I know that that's a big problem that needs to be looked at, like the way that it affects us as we continue to go through life. And I think that needs to be kind of highlighted for us to establish that it's a real issue.
Thank you. Derek?
As an educator, and I am a teacher at Imani Christian Academy, which is right in the heart of East Hills, and we're directly affected by issues of gun violence all the time. As a student body, as a school community, we just recently had a young lady who I believe is a 10th grader who lost a sibling to gun violence. And this, I don't even think it's been a week since that event occurred. But the one thing that as I participate in conversations like this, the one thing that's going to happen is that when this young lady comes back to school, I have to find a way to pour math and science on top of that. And so the question becomes, how do we educate young people who are dealing with these issues, who have been directly affected by them, and even for me as an educator being indirectly affected by these kinds of issues? It's my opinion that we don't take mental health as seriously as we need to, in particularly in our community. And there's such a stigma behind mental health. And so when you consider a parent who, we say, well, we want to add this mental health component and we want your child to participate in it, there's oftentimes a stigma behind that, to where parents will say, well, my kid is not crazy, there's nothing wrong with my kid. And so there becomes a stigma behind mental health. But I think for every educator, there should be a mental health professional directly involved in our educational systems.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I definitely appreciate those opinions. Did you have something else that I know that you grabbed the mic and you looked excited to say something. So it's all on you. Your last comment.
Okay. So I feel like a lot of time, especially on media, there's people joking around and probably don't know what they could accidentally hurt somebody. So what I think we could try to spread awareness of the fact that perhaps there is ways to deal with gun violence and try not to just say it's just something that happens. The fact that it's basically been normalized in the news is kind of gives African Americans a negative connotation, honestly.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your opinion. For time's sakes, I can only take one more opinion, and I'm going to ask Mr. Sean to close us out with your last opinion.
Well, first of all, I thank the three previous points because they all were hitting on a lot of what I was thinking about, the root cause, the addressing of mental health, and a desensitization of how we look at violence. When I think about gun violence and mental health, the quote that comes across my mind is by Tupac Shakur is our future is our confidence and self-esteem. And when I see the amount of gun violence that's affected me personally, to my friends, to my students that I've worked with, it all comes back down to we don't love ourselves. We don't know how to love ourselves. We're not taught how to love ourselves. We struggle with looking in the mirror and say, I love you, even though you may not be perfect. And that's not just an individual thing, it's a family thing. It's a community issue that has ran rampant, not just with this generation, but for previous generations, because we have generational trauma that's been unaddressed, partly because mental health is such a stigma, and we are constantly trying to address a problem that has been persistent because we're doing a lot of talking, we're not having solutions. So I think really creating a culture of we are a community, we love each other, and really trying to hone in on we can work together to make this right and to bring our community together and most importantly, save our future.
Thank you again, Sean. I definitely appreciate that. In closing, my personal opinion, the way we're going to overcome this is through our own education. My son will tell you in a minute, I just sent him a message about his education moving forward. It seems like I would say the students that are staying in school, all right, that are, have a plan for their particular futures. They have business about themselves because when you have, and this can apply to adults as well, college students, all right, you're in your rooms, you're studying. You don't have time to be be out on the street during the week, at 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock and 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. I believe the Allegheny County statistics show that the majority of deaths happen between midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning. All right? When we are being or educating ourselves, we don't have time to be out on the streets. When we have jobs, we don't have time to be out on the streets. When we have responsibilities, we don't have time to be out on the streets. So my particular solution to a lot of young people, all right, and that is why the Generative Medicine program exists, is to give you options in life. All right? Sure, we want all of our kids to become doctors. All right? And we don't give up on that. But at the same time, we know that our students are going to become professionals in life. And that will happen through their education. So I want to thank you all again for your participation. Great job, guys.
I want to say thank you as well because so many of you have been on the radio with me, but I've never seen you face to face. We've never interacted, but you have spent many hours on the radio with me. And I just want to say to you all, these are the kind of images that we need to be seeing in the media. And since I'm not in the media full time anymore, I can say that. And these young men show up and show out on the first Saturday of every month on KDKA Radio for Minority Health Matters. And I don't know that the broadcast community recognizes that. I don't even know if KDKA Radio recognizes that. But we need to recognize what it takes for these young men to sit up on the stage or go on the radio and speak from their hearts. So let's give them a serious round of applause because what they're doing ain't easy. And we salute you because the realities are in 2023, it is not easy being a young black male in Pittsburgh or anywhere else. We have a lot more to do today. I'm hoping the young men are going to stick around because we want to have a lot more interaction. We're going to take a break, feed you. There's lunch available out in the lobby, and then we will resume our program in a little less than an hour. So it'll give you time to do the bathroom, eat, and then we're going to come back with the parent of a student. You mentioned, Mr. Turner, you mentioned the young man, Stephen Eason, who was shot and killed at the haunted hayride 2 years ago. His mother's going to be here, and she's going to tell her story and her search for information, because 2 years later, no one has come forward. 200 plus kids were at that haunted hayride, but no one saw anything. We're also going to talk with Mayor Ed Gainey, the mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, not so much as a mayor, but we're going to talk to him about loss, because he's had several losses. We have some of our other guests out here, so we got a whole panel lined up. I hope you'll stick around, so enjoy lunch. We worked with Salem's Market and Grill down in the Strip District. You know, they're soon to be home in the old Shop and Save on Center Avenue, so we appreciate them and the things that they are pouring back into the community right now, and we appreciate you. So enjoy the lunch, and we'll see you back here shortly.